Hello everyone and welcome to the LSI F1.5 EU Championship. The round 1 Zandvoort race is upon us. Let's get it. Qualifying is currently underway. We've got 6 minutes left on the clock. It is Ed Veer out on track right now, on their way back into the pit lane after setting the P4 time in 9.698. We've got a few new drivers to the scene. We see LSI, who was racing yesterday. They are trying out for both tiers at the moment, and we've got Frantic Sulkin also trying out for both tiers as well, and then we have Ed Veer in P4 also trying out for both tiers as well. Gladio is brand new to LSI, and then you've got the reserve drivers, the higher tier drivers of Jericho Willis, Tom Rob, Verf and Samaxon, as they will all be starting at the back of the field, as they have all had experience from yesterday's race. So did Ed Veer and so did LSI. So LSI having that drastic strategy on the soft tyre is going to have to look at something a little bit different this time. So I'm sure they will be absolutely fine. We're just going to double check a few things and we'll be back. And now we should be good to go, so I do apologise for the delay, and hopefully we fixed all the issues that we had yesterday with the lag, etc., so we should be good to go. And now back to it. 4.5 minutes on the clock. Sulkin P3 at the moment, pushing to the limit. Purple in the middle sector. Into the following corners, a little bit rough over the grass, unfortunately, and that's probably going to be their lap done. We've got Verf, who finishes the session before they begin it, of course, as they are higher tier driver, and they don't need to be worrying about too much more other than staying in the session. And it is then Frantic on an outlap, so we'll see what they can do very, very shortly as they continue to warm up. But Sulkin is going to be calling this lap one done, and that will be it for them. We've got Gladio currently in the Ferrari, running the lovely red car. DRS available across the line. What's it going to be for the Albanian? It's to P5, they stay, and they catch up a little bit more to Ed Veer in the McLaren in P4. But it's Frantic who goes up next. The home Grand Prix attempt at pole position is upon us. And we watch the driver who I believe raced here in Zandvoort last season. Maybe I'm mistaken, maybe they didn't, but they definitely raced in a Hungary race and showed some great pace until it was a little bit too late. Not looking so quick in a straight line, but that may just be how it is in Zandvoort. Frantic continues to put a pretty tidy run into the following corners and goes through the next sector. We will see in the middle of this straight the lap time according to their best. P2 at the moment, a 9.282, and they are currently almost dead on their lap time, just a little bit down. The final sector is where they'll try and gain things here, and into the final few corners they'll go. DRS available, And Frantic goes across the line with 2 minutes to go. This will be their last of the session, unless they can do a cool-down lap. That is it for Frantic, and up by 0.5 of a second. But unfortunately not able to compete with LSI there. That is Sulkin on an outlap once more. It's Gladio into P5, and they go again on the same tyre, as they've actually only got half a battery. So I'm not entirely sure what the plan is here, but Gladio is not going to be able to utilise the performance of this tyre or the car, but it's how it's going to be for them. LSI currently P1 giving it a shot. What's it going to be as they come up the final corner? Can they improve? Can they defend their position in the racing ball? It's Sulkin who gets an illegal blocking penalty from Frantic, and that is not an improvement, but it is a final run start here for the current pole sitter. They've got the Haas car that just leaves the pit lane and moves out the way, doesn't cause any problems, and then you go into the turn 3 and 4 uphill on the throttle, trying to put the power down and using the track against you. And then down the hill they go, down into 6th gear to scrub the speed naturally. And once again down into 6th gear, not quite going all the way to the left hand side of the circuit, getting a bit of grass on the tyres but still looking tidy. The gearing was right, the gearing's good here as well, DRS available on the traction, still smooth across the sector line, and it's going to be just down on their previous time, but Frantic can't compete. Sulkin has the grid penalty. Edvir is the best chance at competing right now as we see Gladio into the pit lane. It's LSI who goes into the final sector and is going to go straight into the pit lane as they do not improve. Frantic might actually have another go here. Currently 1.5 tenths up, and they are going to give it a shot. They did run enough fuel in the car, and they've just got to keep it clean, otherwise they could be in trouble. Sulkin going to be doing a similar thing as they're trying to get as close as they can to pole position. They're improving a little bit, but that's going to be nowhere near to get to P2 or 1. Unfortunately, unless they can gain something in the final sector, it could be it. LSI is done with the session. A 9.090 is currently the pole time. Sulkin pulling it to the right hand side to minimise track distance up to the line, and they improve by 2.5 tenths, but it's not enough. They almost push to Frantic, but Frantic, can they go for pole position in their home Grand Prix in round 1 of the season? They can. Absolutely incredible stuff. An 8.980, and they get the job done. Edvir, a home hero as well, not improving, but starting P4. They're on the 2nd row of the grid, and that is qualifying for the Dutch Grand Prix. Frantic has done it in the last moment. The brilliant effort there from the Dutchman, and I'm sure they're going to want to keep it clean for the race. They know that the higher tier drivers are in a different race to them. So as long as they keep that in mind, they should be able to focus on their current tier rivals. We just wait for the results to come across on our screen, and then we'll take a short break before the race starts. Alrighty, there it is. Frantic confirmed P1. And the results. Frantic is on pole position. It's LSI in P2. It's Sulkin P3, but getting demoted. So Edvir will start there instead, and it will be Gladio on the 2nd row of the grid. Sulkin much further down, unfortunately, is going to be in a bit of a compromised position. This is the race director, just in case we need to see it at a later point. And the pit stop section. We'll be back for the race. We'll see you in a bit. Ready, hold, go! Who's going to get it into turn one? We're finally away. It's Frantic on pole position for the home Grand Prix. The inside line for the Racing Bull Live C is not going to be able to get there, but they do have a little nose in into the following corners. They back off eventually. It's Ed Veer in P3. It's Jericho Willis to P4 already. And then Gladio. We've got Tom. We've got Sulkin, of course, with that grip penalty. Oh no! And Gladio's in the wall as they lose the car up the hill in the opening stages. What tyre were they on? Were they're on the hard tyre, and unfortunately they've got caught out a little bit in the immediate stages with the cold tyres. That is absolutely brutal. They're still in this race. They still have a chance. Frantic leads the way from pole position with Live C behind on the medium. We've also got mediums for Ed Veer as well. We saw a lot of medium starters yesterday compared to hards today, which is an interesting call and not something that I would usually expect. I think if you see the higher tier drivers in the F1 tier go for the medium tyre, you'd start on the medium tyre, but no, it's going the opposite way for most drivers. That is Ed Veer, Live C racing yesterday, they haven't gone for it, but everybody else, even some of the higher tier drivers, have gone for this hard tyre. Frantic still holds on to the lead right now, but it's going to be a move to the inside. There's contact, a big contact, and that was never going to work. Way too far back. Oh, and Ed Veer tried to have a look, but it was Live C on the racing line who didn't really see Ed Veer coming, so Live C in a little bit of trouble there, and they're going to have to try and make sure they recoup and focus, because that was never going to work on Frantic, and it was a little bit risky with Ed Veer as well. Jericho Willis right behind his teammate for today's race, but as they're a high tier driver, they've got to be a little bit passive and only make moves when they think they can safely, and also not affect the race significantly. That is Tom down the order, unfortunately, having an issue. It's going to be Verf with Sulkin racing closely. Sulkin in the tracks of Samaxon with DRS, but it's Samaxon who's actually got a second gap to Jericho Willis. They've got to push here, otherwise they're not going to be able to really catch too much more. It's going to be tough with the DRS train, of course, that they've got. Verf is going to look at trying to overtake the Norwegian with the DRS as they're closer. Even though both cars have got DRS, if you're very close, then it's going to be absolutely awesome. There's Live C into the lead of the Grand Prix. Frantic almost looking at the switchback, but it looks like maybe they backed off instead. I'm not entirely sure. Ed Veer stays P3 as Jericho Willis opts not to overtake them. It's Samaxon who's trying to fight for DRS range at this stage of the Grand Prix. They did go for the move. We saw they were going for it into the first corner, DRS move, and it looked like it was going to be pretty straightforward anyway, so we didn't really want to see it too much. We unfortunately did miss the Live C move though into P1. That is, a car off in the background. Unfortunately, Ed Veer having all kinds of problems. What a shame in the middle sector there for the Dutchman. Home Grand Prix taking out some marker boards, and that is not going to make their day any easier. DRS no longer available, and Ed Veer down the order on the medium tyre as well. Medium tyres for Tom and Gladio as they've made their pit stops, but Ed Veer at least has a chance to pit onto the hard tyre and make an impact later on in this race, as long as they can keep it clean. It's a shame because they're in contention for the podium, and they were in a podium position and looking to try and fight for a race victory, but now it's not going to be the case. We've got Live C leading the way, but it's Frantic who sticks to the back of them like glue, even on the hard tyre. Jericho Willis now not with DRS, but Samaxon's able to catch up. Verf as well. Slung shot from Sulkin is now going to be trying to compete with the other two higher tier drivers. Sulkin dropping away a little bit from Verf, unfortunately, so they're going to have to give it a shot a little bit later on. I think Sulkin had their first ever LSI race here last season, and they gave it a very good effort, so welcome back to Zandvoort for Sulkin. I may be completely wrong on that one, but I do believe I'm correct. And that's now 9/10, so Frantic is trying their best to hold on with minimal battery usage. It seems to stay with the Racing Bull. actually using the battery on the straight to make sure that they maximise every little thing. And you can see the Racing Bull saving the battery at the end of the straight. They know that they're not going to get overtaken by Frantic, and they know they've got the grip in the first sector to stay in front, so they're looking to save the battery to maybe defend a little bit later on, keep that hard tyre behind them for as long as possible, and prevent the strategy from really going the way of Frantic. Although to fight against the hard medium strategy is going to be very difficult, as generally in the past games, past years, that has been the superior strategy, although there is a slight risk to it, as you are going to be slower at the beginning of the Grand Prix. So far now, though, it doesn't seem to be a massive issue for Frantic as they hold on to DRS range. It's Samaxon who hasn't quite got DRS on Frantic, but they are giving it a good shot, and I think they might be able to get there very soon. And there is DRS range for Samaxon, so they bring the F1 to drivers with them. As Frantic and Livesey are going to be looking to try and duel it out. And Samaxon, Jericho, Willis and Verf will all play ball. All former F1.5 drivers, all competing at one point, I believe, with each other in the F1.5, and then Verf and Jericho continued to fight each other in the following season with an epic battle. A brilliant story we witnessed. And now they continue, but in a different scenario. The top 5 are in a train for the race lead. Frantic is a little bit frantically trying to catch up back to Livesey. DRS will help them do so, but that was a little bit close for comfort there. Massively gaining by the time they get to the end of the straight though, of course. Pushing on the battery, I'd assume, as they're saving on the exit of the corner. Livesey's tyres, they're going to be dropping off in the next couple of laps now, and it's not going to be easy at all. 2 to 4 laps and it will be pretty much game over, and Livesey will be preying on the kindness of Frantic's heart. But when you're in a racing mode, how kind is your heart? You don't know, and you don't think, you just do. What is Frantic going to do? Where will they go for the move? DRS available, but not close enough, especially in this short straight. We could see something change in a few moments. We saw Frantic go from 9 tenths to 3 tenths last lap. We're now going to see Frantic go from 6 tenths to, I don't know, maybe P1 this lap here. ERS will be used. DRS has actually been double pressed by Frantic, so they turned it on and off again by accident. But now here we go, the first corner is upon us. Will Frantic try and take the lead of the Grand Prix? They don't opt to do it, which is an interesting call. I guess they just don't have the battery to deploy to fight, but they are definitely in a strong position if they do get into P1, because they can then control the pace on their tyres. That is a slow-moving car of Gladio, unfortunately, but no safety car deployed right now as Gladio gets back on track after their issue. I don't know if they've got damage, as they don't have any damage. It was just a spin in an interesting place to spin, but hopefully they'll all be good to go. As we begin lap 9, LSI leads the way. Frantic now 4 tenths behind ERS, and DRS will be used. I think this is the moment that it will change. Frantic looks to the outside line as they're forced by the defensive throw from LSI. LSI gave it everything, but it's not going to work, and it's an easy swoop around the outside there for the Alpine car. LSI trying to go for the move earlier on in the Grand Prix. They got it done eventually, even after failing the first attempt. But now, Frantic gets to P1, and Frantic gets to P1 with the better tyres at this stage of the Grand Prix. And I don't think it's going to be so straightforward to catch up. LSI though, 4 tenths behind. If they're 4 tenths and Frantic got that move previously, it might be alright. That being said, a big mistake there from the Racing Bull. The pressure's on, and now Frantic has an opportunity to be brutal, to break away, to push, and to try and look for victory in the early stages. Safety cars could be a thing, but even before the pit stops, if you can break away from DRS on this tyre, you're good to go. That's Tom, unfortunately, having an issue spinning the car, and it's going to be no obstacle for everybody else, but it is a little bit frustrating. Of course, we're not going to get some Maxon going for the move on LSI, but here we go. LSI on Frantic. LSI is going to have a look. The safety car's deployed. The safety car's been deployed at the last second. Frantic will overtake the safety car, and we will be going for an extra lap. And luckily, so Frantic didn't get a disqualification from that one. Is Edvir with damage, or was it a safety car from the slow-moving car of Tom Rob? It was from the slow-moving car of Tom, who's then retired in the pit lane. So the safety car's out, and unfortunately, the race has been neutralised. No, it's not. It's Gladio. It's Gladio who had a crash, lost their front wing, and the safety car has been pulled out for that reason. Frantic now leads the way. They're all going to be able to go round. And interestingly, we saw the pit stop from Sulkin and Edvir. Despite us having another lap, although we're not behind the safety car. Now, Sulkin might want to go for an extra pit stop, and they started on the hards. I don't think they'd want to go back onto the hards, but it's the medium tyre that then they've got to choose, which is going to be very difficult to take to the end of the Grand Prix. Frantic's not going to be happy with this one because this is much earlier than they would have liked. That being said, they don't go to the pit lane. LSI does. It's a clear choice for LSI, as they are going to have so much time to be gained. What I wanted to say is, if there's any circuit that you have to do a two-stop on, without any knowledge, if you asked me which circuit you would choose, I'd choose Zandvoort. The tyres with the high downforce and the open circuit, the amount of time you can gain is monumental on fresh tyres. Is it enough though? We saw yesterday the gains were about 1.5 seconds, but you needed about 2.5 seconds, or just under, per lap to catch back up to the cars that you were racing previously, and then you've got to try and overtake them again. So it's not that easy. But if we've got another car that's on a more crazy strategy, then it might not be so impossible. And with LSI on a tyre that's going to be getting pretty old by the time we get to the end of the Grand Prix, maybe it's not an invalid strategy. As we wait for Edvir and Sulkin to catch up, unfortunately Gladio with that pit stop is going to be a lapped car. It's Samaxon into the pit lane going for this call. I think they're going for the double strategy, or they're just going to try and take the medium all the way to the end. or they're going to go soft medium. Sulkin has stayed out on this soft tyre, which will die within 2 or 3 laps, which is an interesting call. But there it is, Samaxon on the medium tyre. We should remember that in the current F1.25 game, a lot of cars, a lot of drivers are choosing the harder tyre allocation. So they don't actually have 2 sets of mediums, they have 2 sets of hards. So that's why I'm confused. I thought Sulkin maybe has gone for a set of softs to then immediately go onto a set of hards and take it to the end of the Grand Prix, but it doesn't seem the case. Regardless, Samaxon's now at the back of the pack, and we will go racing once again at the end of this lap. Frantic will lead the way. When will they go for it? The safety car comes around the final corner. On board Frantic, it's Jericho Willis to react. And there it is from the Dutchman. And the American has reacted pretty well, to be honest. They're not going to be going for the move, but we will see a move attempted here by LSI, who goes for it. Actually, it's on the Ferrari, of course, the lap car. They do get out the way after the car has been ghosted, which is nice and safe and prevents everybody from losing out too much. So you can't see really a big gap between the field, which is brilliant and well done right there. But we've got side by side with Edvir and Samaxon, as Samaxon is trying to give it everything to try and push on these fresh tyres. That's going to never work. Oh, what a send from Edvir on the inside. That was a bit of a risk, and Samaxon has luckily avoided that one. They don't go for the move from the inside line there, and Edvir actually covers it off a little bit with the racing line that they chose. But now they've got to think about Verf, because Verf is breaking away, and DRS and ERS not available yet, but the grip on that Haas car is absolutely incredible, and I don't think Edvir's going to have a chance to really go for it. They do back off eventually. Verf, P5, they've got a soft tyre runner who's quick right now, but is going to slow down very, very soon, and they could end up struggling. Jericho Willis has Frantic in their sights, but not really looking to go for a move. Sulkin wants to try and have a go at something, but in a train, it's impossible! Oh, that was a little bit of a closed call. You could say squeaky bum time right there from Sulkin, and actually LSI, if you even saw it happening, unless they were oblivious to the moment, that would have been a pretty catastrophic collision if it went any further. Frantic currently half a second in front and controlling the pace on the hard tyre. They will have to make a pit stop. LSI, as long as they make sure that they don't lose any front wing or getting involved in any instance, they are in a strong position in this Grand Prix. Very, very strong. Now, Samaxon passes Verf for position on a medium tyre as well. 2 lap fresher medium tyres. These guys in theory could go to the end if they wanted to, but it would be virtually impossible with tyre wear being a thing in the F1.25 game, and that is the fresh hard tyres looking so quick right now compared to the old hard tyre, but not really in a rush to make any moves, and you can understand why. But that being said, they've got the Williams, who's going to be feisty right behind them. Will we see Jericho Willis look for the inside line? We will see them, and they will go for it. 2 rivals from previous seasons in F1.5, but it's not going to be a full force attempt from Jericho Willis. They let things go, they back off, and now they continue in P2, but they've got pressure from LSI now. LSI realises that Jericho wasn't so assertive in making that move and might now decide they want to go for a move, because they want to make sure that they secure a move on Frantic at the earliest possible moment. There's a balancing act here for LSI. They want to try and utilise their strategy in their situation, but they don't want to get any damage, because if they do so, then they just throw everything away that they have right now. So it's really high risk and mediocre reward at the moment, because the reward for just not risking anything is absolutely beautiful, and that is a risk that I did not expect them to take. I don't know if it was intentional or not, but that almost ruined everything, guaranteed, but just about keeping it away from the McLaren. And I think Jericho Willis reacted to that one quite nicely as well. A little bit there. Frantic will not get any pressure, but it's Livesey who has to go. Oh no, that's never going to work. Oh, what a shame. Contact, and then contact with Sir Maxon as they're not looking where they're going. They've crashed with the Williams as well. They're getting a little bit flustered. It's easily done. And now Sir Maxon looking to the outside line of Verf, side by side, right behind the damaged car of the Racing Bull. They've got to try and find their way through. But it is now Salkin to the inside line as they look on that soft tyre that should be pretty old right now, but they're still holding their own. Jericho Willis luckily staying in a straight line after that contact. Livesey went and did a very similar move that Nifo accidentally pulled off yesterday, with contact with actually the back of Livesey, just in an Aston Martin instead, and getting a bit of end plate damage. They did complete the race with the damage in the end, but it does make your day a lot more complicated, that's for sure. Selkin staying out on this soft tyre within the train of the top cars. DRS available for Livesey, but it's Sir Maxon who's going to be putting on the pressure, and it's going to be Sir Maxon to the inside line. They're not going to really take any notice of the damaged car, because they know that they've got the performance in the tyre and the front wing to make that move. Verf wasn't actually able to make the move themselves, which is interesting to see, but the outside line is going to be chosen. Will they get there on the traction? A big loss of traction for the Racing Bull will open the door for the green car, and now the green car is the inside line into turn 7, and it will be Livesey who just lets things go. And that is pretty frustrating for Livesey there, but it's the way it crumbles sometimes, and you just got to try and make sure you keep your front wing together. A lesson learned, but a lesson still to be learnt as they continue in this race, and they shouldn't give up, as we saw from Heischler yesterday, with a phenomenal result considering the circumstance. Jericho Willis now leads the Grand Prix as Frantic allows them to pass these guys on the same tyre. Salkin not exactly going to be on the faster tyre, but they are a pit stop maker already, with pressure from Sir Maxon, as Sir Maxon looks to go for the move and might end up going for 2 moves if they're careful. But they weren't able to pull it off right now. They do go to the inside line as they try to defend from the Williams, but they also tried to get stay behind of the Alpine and not cause any problems. They ended up taking avoiding action from nothing and colliding with the inside wall, and unfortunately they lose the position immediately to the Williams car. I don't think they've got any damage, and they're lucky to stay in this race, but they should be all good to go. Although it's a far inside wall, it is surprising how many people do touch that wall on the inside there, as you try and push the limits, or take avoiding action, whatever you think. The train continues, and it actually stays together. Although Gladio is a lap down, they are holding their own right now as they stay ahead of Edvir. Edvir currently at the back of the field, but that's DRS available as they're now on the back of Livesey. But we go back to the battles just up in front as it's side by side once again. Sir Maxon looking for a move, but they have to back off and they can't do anything about it. Sulkin is a current tier driver, so they don't want to cause any incidents, but they want to try and make some progress. They just can't. Jericho Willis and Frantic once again switch as they stay out on this tyre still. Do appreciate that, Zingy. Of course, if you get the advert, you're welcome to skip it, because once you see it, even if you press skip, doesn't make a difference on the revenue. But thank you very much regardless, I do appreciate that. I don't know why I'm talking so quietly, but a bit of SMR in rewards for watching the advert. Here we go though, Samax onto the inside line, it's DRS available, it's going to be Verf trying to have a go as well. Samaxon makes the move, and here comes the green car to the inside line. Surely it's going to be, oh no! Samaxon getting involved with Jericho Willis just up in front, and they lose the car side by side. Verf somehow still holds on to the position over the Williams as they almost went into the back of the Haas car, but they do avoid it. Jericho Willis all over the road right now. The traction is not there for the American driver. Frantic is breaking away. I say that, they're not. But somehow Jericho Willis is staying on board whilst Frantic is relaxing. Jericho Willis is fighting Samaxon right behind, and that almost went incredibly wrong. Lap 20 out of 36. It's Frantic in P1, not pitting yet. Jericho Willis in the same scenario, and they're still looking for that one stop or a safety car. I think that's why they're staying out for so long. They're not looking for the two stop. The one stop's more straightforward, and the safety car is a risk for glory. There it is, Jericho Willis to the inside line. Samaxon trying to get involved in the action as well, as they actually end up just defending by attacking from Verf. But Verf has an opportunity, and Verf looks to the outside line. They back off eventually, and they allow Samaxon to stay where they are. We do have Frantic and Jericho Willis very close to one another, but I want to go back to this battle here because I thought we saw Live C very close, but no, it's actually, once again, Gladio, who is right behind Live C, although a lap behind, still giving it everything they possibly can. Maybe not ideal to drive through another car, but they've got past them now, and hopefully they can stay in front. It is Sulkin with the new tyres, and looking now for just qualifying lap after qualifying lap, and hoping that they can catch up to the rest of the field. Thank you very much, Singya. I do appreciate that. You didn't need to do that at all. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. We continue, and it's now Jericho Willis going defensive because Frantic's looking to the outside line. Samaxon's putting the pressure on. It is one current tier driver versus 3 higher tier drivers, and Frantic is stuck in the middle of it all. No one wants to ruin Frantic's day, but everybody wants to try and finish as high as possible. It's just not working out. It's some of the most confusing racing you can see. Lap 22 of the 36. And an unusual scenario sees Frantic in P2 with the next current tier car in P5, but no one wanting to overtake just in case. The safety car is not going to be out, and I hope for everyone's sake that doesn't want to be involved in the crash, it doesn't come out. But I also want to see what's going to happen here with the tyres and wait for Frantic and Jericho Willis to pit. Will it be this lap? Will this be the one that they choose? It's not. And they continue to stay out. It's Samaxon continuing to put the pressure on. Frantic now goes for the move. Samaxon now tries to spot the opportunity on Jericho Willis. Higher tier driver versus higher tier driver. The run into the following corners is just going to be pro McLaren. Oh, and that is never going to work. Samaxon tried to keep their nose in. It was very risky all the way through, and that is it. All done. Jericho Willis stays in front. They actually end up turning the battery off as they realise that the run is not going to be there for Samaxon, and there is Verf looking to the inside line, but Samaxon doesn't want to give it up as they believe that they can hold on. Oh, and Verf looking to the inside line. It looked like they're trying to spook the Haas car into some sort of manoeuvre that force them to defend and then lose their line. With the damage as well, that would be even more catastrophic to pull off. But they didn't quite get the job done. But here we go. It's Verf who will look at making the move on Samaxon. Oh, and it's the rain. The rain's kicking in. This is why they've been going for so long. This is why the pit stops have been made. This is why we're getting all these changes, and it's not over until it's over. It's going to be Samaxon ahead of Frantic. Jericho Willis into P1, and Frantic now being challenged by the Sauber car, who does make the move, and Frantic is surely not going to fight that. And all of a sudden, all the higher tier drivers have tried to push through and get the move done. Now the rain is kicked in, and it's all crunch time. Live C damage could get a front ring repair as they go for a set of wet tyres a little bit later on. Edvir, P6 at the moment, looking to try and gain something from their strategy. Sulkin not going to be happy with their pit call, as they now have to pit again, and they're not going to be catching up to anybody. We've got Gladio, who is behind. That is a yellow. Unfortunately, I'm not entirely sure what that was for, but I think Gladio maybe just lost out as they drop behind Live C just momentarily. We've not had the call for DRS to be turned off. We still see the DRS wings open. Is it going to be wet tyres? It looks like it will be for Jericho Willis and Frantic, but I'm with Samaxon and Verf here. Verf looking to the inside line. If you don't get the call from the game, then it's not going to be the better tyre. That being said, the call is imminent. There it is. And now it is perfect. Perfect for Jericho Willis. Perfect for Frantic. Perfect for everybody that's just pitted to have the opportunity to catch up or undercut the rest of the field, because as soon as they go into the pit lane, it's dry tyres. As soon as they leave the pit lane, it's wet tyres that are optimal. Perfect pitting conditions for Jericho Willis and Frantic. Frantic hasn't been able to capitalise on it so much, as they've now got a 2.6 second gap to Jericho Willis, which is interesting, and very interesting for Live C. Live C, did they get that front wing change, or did they miss out? They unfortunately didn't select repair damage, and that is something that they're experiencing, the teething issues with learning how to race in online modes. It's pretty tough, but you eventually learn the tricks and tips. Unfortunately, not setting it to manually repair your front wing does mean that you risk this kind of thing, and they're not going to make that same mistake again. I'm sure of that. It's Frantic in P1 for the current tier drivers. It's Samaxon who goes into the pit lane. As we see, 12 seconds is the gap that split Jericho Willis and Verf. But here we go. Look at the undercut. Look at Jericho Willis power through, and how much time they will have gained on the wet tyre runners. Or sorry, on the dry tyre runners, who now go onto the wet tyre. Live C goes for the move as well. And you gain so much. The lapped car of Gladio unfortunately won't be able to get there on these guys, but drifting on the tyres, slightly warmer as well, so they might have an opportunity to have a go. But I think it's going to be difficult to compete against Verf and Samaxon Titans in their own right. And for a limited period in this Grand Prix so far, Gladio finally gets a solid red Ferrari instead of a ghost car. It's then Sulkin in P7, who is actually fighting with Edvir now after all of this has just happened. There's Edvir right now. They're looking to fight with their fellow racer for the final 10 or so laps of this Grand Prix, as the wet conditions are getting heavier and heavier. Verf and Samaxon trying to put the pressure onto Live C with that damage. Live C, of course, a higher tier driver, so still running net P2 and will run net P2 even if Samaxon and Verf go through. But it's Jericho Willis who leads the Grand Prix clearly and is going to be looking at trying to take victory. No move for anyone just yet. Samaxon was close to the inside, but of course they've got damage as well, and they didn't get their front wing changed either. So Verf is going to try and gain something on that one, but it's Sulkin who pushes for the move into the first corner and gets ahead of Edvir. Now, the Norwegian, who had a soft tyre strategy earlier on, is now on the same tyre as everybody else and looking to try and get anything they can out of this Grand Prix. And as they are doing both tiers at the moment, as that was Samaxon looking very close to the inside, we've got Verf who wants to try and do something, but they're just a little bit reluctant with the current tier driver of LSI. 2 cars ahead of them with damage, and they're only losing time to Frantic and Jericho Willis. Sending it a little bit too hard into the corner is LSI, but just catching him in the wrong moment is Samaxon, trying to get on the traction, but that's not going to work out. They back off, and they now look for the move out of the final corner as a defensive throw compromises the Racing Bulls line. DRS not available, ERS in close slipstream is to the inside line. They will go as they're allowed to send it to the inside, and it's going to be LSI who looks to try and have a switchback, but you're never going to get there on the F1 champion, as now that move is done and Verf needs to try and find their way through with a clean front wing, as they almost end up finding damage on their car as well. The conditions have changed. Samaxon now breaking away to try and catch up to Frantic and Jericho Willis. There is, Verf going for the move as they have the bet. Oh no! No, no, no! It's LSI off with the understeer, riding onto the curb, and you just can't control it there. You completely run wide and it's game over. Terrible stuff there for LSI. Still net P2, as long as they don't lose their position to Sulkin, they will still finish in P2. It's Frantic net P1, then it's LSI, then it's Sulkin, Edvir and Gladio. Of course, for the overall race, currently Jericho Willis is in the lead, and by a hell of a lot as well, considering everything, considering the wet conditions, and it's harder to overtake in the wet conditions than the dry, which means it's even more possible. They're going into the pit lane. From P2, they go into the pit lane to get a front wing change. They get a false penalty from the game, so they will get that removed. I'm not entirely sure what the plan is here, but they've gone on for the full wet tyre as well, which is not going to be the faster tyre despite what the game says. So LSI is unfortunately losing 2 positions for that moment there. And apart from the lap car of Gladio, they are effectively last. They do get that front wing, but that's going to be a tough tyre to drive the rest of the Grand Prix on. Jericho Willis continues to drive in the lead of the Grand Prix, and Frantic is just there, just in case there's a mistake from the McLaren. Samaxon's making good ground despite having the damage in that car. But with 5 seconds and 7 laps, I don't think that's going to really be enough to make a move, even if you can catch to the car in front. Verf would even try and say something about it and maybe have a go at making a move if they can try and use this front wing to their advantage. Closest cars on track right now, Verf and Samaxon. Oh, a big snap of oversteer there from Verf as they push the limit to try and catch up to the damaged car. Trying to dance with the rain. as the grip does flip you left and right and all kinds of directions. .7 seconds, and the gap extends as Samaxon pushes and catches up a lot to Frantic here. Frantic doesn't need to push. They've got everything to lose and nothing to gain in this Grand Prix. So they might as well. That's Gladio into the pit lane, as they are going for a fresh set of intermediate tyres. And maybe these tyres aren't wearing so well. Maybe they're pretty old and we could see some sign of a puncture. I think it would be unlikely, but not impossible at the same time. With the nature of this circuit, the tyres can be brutally battered. But I really doubt that's going to be the case. We should be good to go. It's Jericho Willis who leads the way on lap 32 out of 36. It's Frantic in P2. It's Samaxon in P3. We've got Verf, Selkin, Edvir, Livesey and Gladio, with Gladio just making a pit stop onto a fresh set of intermediate tyres. We've had Livesey on a fresh set of wet tyres, the only driver to do something a little bit different. The closest battle we've now got continues to be this one of Verf and Samaxon, but it's 1.2 seconds the gap now. So Verf has managed to make some good progress on the damage runner of Samaxon, as Samaxon continues to make some progress on Frantic up in front. Jericho Willis extends their lead to try and secure the victory here in Zandvoort today, which is a brilliant way to start the season. I know it's not their current tier, but even if you can get a victory in league racing, that is going to give you a lot of momentum and motivation. Verf now almost within 1 second. DRS is not a thing in the rain, so that's not going to make a difference, but it does definitely give you a good milestone and really put that extra bit of pressure psychologically on the car in front. And they might end up making a mistake or looking in their mirror a little bit too often, and not where they're going in front. 9/10 splitting the two cars at this stage. Drifting around the circuit is Samaxon, trying to get the rotation from everything else other than the front wing, because it's not giving them what they need after that incident that they had earlier on. Jericho Willis 3.1 seconds ahead of Frantic. Frantic 2.4 seconds ahead of Samaxon. Will they hold on to this P2 in the race and their P1 for the current tier races? Sulkin, after everything that they've been through, now sits, even though they had that crazy strategy, in net P2 for the EU drivers. Edvir P3 and Livesey in P4. P5 for Gladio, with the unfortunate circumstances that they had with the lap situation. They've got damage on that car, but I'll tell you what, they know that they've got pace, and they know that going into Austria next weekend, they can fight for something. Jericho Willis, 3.8 seconds, starting lap 34 to 36, and they're just counting down the time. It's 1.5 seconds now between Samaxon and Frantic, as Samaxon's pushed to the limit by Verf, who continues to put the pressure on. There's no choice for Samaxon other to go for the move, otherwise they may not end up on the podium themselves. Now the question is, will Frantic fight it? If Samaxon is to try and go for the move, you can see the rotation that they're trying to force into the car on the throttle, which is brilliant to see from Samaxon. But there it is. Frantic's now in trouble. Half a second gap. And the Alpine car, although not worrying about losing the positions to the higher tier driver, is now going to possibly be attacked. And if you're attacked, you're getting overtaken. And if you're getting overtaken, you're side by side with another car. And if you're side by side with another car, then you're at risk of being involved in an incident. You could end up in a crash. DRS not available. ERS is available and being used a little bit by Samaxon, and they realise that the Alpine is not going to be pushing, not going to be trying to defend so much. Samaxon looks to the inside, doesn't have the front wing to do it, but moving out the way is Frantic. And Frantic just lets that one happen where they could have easily held on. And Verf is not going to be happy with that one, because they wanted to go for that move as well. Frantic allows Samaxon to go for the move for free, and Verf has to sit behind. Frantic can do whatever they want in this scenario, so it's completely fair game. But Verf now is going to be frustrated, and they're going to want that podium regardless, and they've got one major opportunity to make it happen. The clock is ticking, the laps are counting down. It's this man that we look at to try and have a go at the podium. Jericho Willis runs the final corner to start the final lap of the Grand Prix. But we watch on board with the green car, the Sauber, in the tracks of the Alpine and gaining massively, putting the battery on through the bank corner and gaining everything, pushing to the limit, and now they've actually maybe got a chance at having a go here on Samaxon. Has Samaxon become complacent? Are they backing off with the damage that they've got? Are the tyres done? Have they worn them out a little bit too much? I don't quite know, but also rotation is trying to be gained from Verf as they push to the absolute limit here. 1.2 seconds it is now, as Frantic only allowed one car to go through and the gap was split. Verf, 1.1 seconds, tries to bring it back as much as they can. The corners go through, they come up, that's where they can gain some time. But I think it's going to be a little bit too late to do anything about this. And Verf has given it their all. But once again, Samaxon will beat them this time. But it's Jericho Willis who will get there in front of everyone else. The top three are the classic F1.5 days. Jericho Willis is going to round the final few corners and they're going to take victory for the Dutch Grand Prix. Jericho Willis wins the Dutch Grand Prix. Absolutely incredible stuff there. Samaxon in P2 with a brilliant drive despite the damage. Verf gave it their all. But it's Frantic who wins for the F1.5 EU Championship Dutch Grand Prix, and they are the championship leader. It's Sulkin who will take P2 for the current tier drivers, and Edvir who will take P3 as long as they can keep it away from the walls here in the final moments. Their home Grand Prix podium is just on its way. Frantic though, the home hero, the Dutchman will be victorious with the home crowd around them. They won't get that podium unfortunately, but it doesn't matter, the points are still there and they're going to be happy with that one. Edvir crosses the line and they do secure that P3 in the end. LSI, disappointing result, but definitely a lot of promise. They should be proud of what they've achieved this weekend in both tiers. Gladio, exactly the same as well. It's Frantic who takes victory here today though. And they fought for the championship a few seasons ago. They're now going to try and give it another shot. Previously fighting with Samaxon, but having a little bit of a difficulty in the later stage of the season, now taking that glory spot instead. A few seasons later, Jericho Willis takes victory in Zandvoort. It's Sir Max on in P2 and Verf in P3. Frantic P4, we've got Sulkin, Edvir, Livesey, Gladio and Tom Robb DNFing earlier on in the Grand Prix. The race director is on your screen now, and when we go through the pit stop section, of course, we're just going to go through it one more time just to make sure everything is there, and we'll be back for the post-race interviews. We will see you in a bit. Hello everyone and welcome to the post-race interviews of the Dutch Grand Prix. That was a pretty crazy one, I have to say. Lots going on, especially with the weather conditions as well. We start with Livesey. Livesey, that was a tough one. Definitely a lot of promise though. I'm sure you can be happy with that, but can you take us through your race and what you learnt today?
Oh, me. So,
Yep, sorry.
sorry, I didn't realize. I learned that I have to go more wet races because I have no idea how to go. I in the 19th lap, I broke my front wing, so this is why I was so slow after that, and I didn't change the first time when I took the inters. Sorry, Simerson. So I was so slow, but I had basically half wing. Um, Again, some mistakes. I tried to go in the with tire advantage, but it was the door was closed and I broke it. I of course I give it back the position because it was a big one, and always if I do something really hard, I give it back the position because I don't think it's fair. Yeah, I have to learn how to drive in wet.
It's a tough one. It is a tough one, but yeah, there's a few things, of course. I guess online racing can get quite a few wet races sometimes, so I'm sure you'll
Yeah.
get there with good experience, of course, as well with the pit bug where it doesn't repair your front wing. That's very
Yeah,
frustrating.
it was basically, yeah, it was this exactly. So I put it to yes because it was orange. So it's, I don't know, 5/10 laps, and it didn't changed, but it's fine.
Yeah, unfortunately, it happens, but hopefully you're not affected by it again. Thank you very much, Losi. Really good
Thank you.
effort
I
today.
have to go.
All right,
Bye,
thank you. Bye
guys.
bye.
Hello. Pussy, Krista.
And we move on to Sulkin. Sulkin, that was an interesting one. The strategy, I'm not entirely sure where you were taking it, but you still ended up P2 for the EU drivers. Can you take us through it?
Yeah, so I thought after the safety car, I didn't have like you can go hard, so I had to go something else, and I knew the mediums wouldn't go to the end because I didn't think the wets or inters are gonna come out. So I went for the softs to go mediums after, but as we saw, it ended up inters, and yeah, I ended up with some bad placements, and yeah, ended up finishing where I finished. So yeah, not that happy with the race, but it is racing goal.
Do you think if you kind of preempted the wet weather, you'd have been able to finish ahead of Frantic and win for the EU drivers?
Yeah, probably. If I went for the mediums after the safety car, I would probably win, but Frantic was a good driver, you could see his pace. But yeah, the judgment by me to pit 2 times before the inters was, yeah, it was bad. So not happy, but yeah, it's how it is.
It's how it is. It's a lot to learn, but hopefully it goes better next time. Thank you very much, Sulkin. Thank you for the effort, and although it's not what you want, congratulations on the P2.
Yeah, thanks.
And we move on to Frantic. Frantic, congratulations, that's a lovely victory. Of course, not on the podium for the overall drivers, you kind of got stormed when it came to the final pit stop, but can you take us through the rest of it? Because it was a pretty smooth drive for some of it at least, but you had a little bit of trouble from other people. So yeah, I know it wasn't exactly easy.
Yeah, well, first of all, great to be back. It's been very fun. Quite enjoyed it. Didn't expect the pole. Qualifying normally isn't my best session, but I got it done at the end there, so that felt good. Yeah, lots of fun battles in the race with the higher tier and LSI, I think his name is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, the forecast expected rain later in the race, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna go on the hard strategy, but then the rain didn't come, and I was like praying. I was hoping it would come earlier, but it didn't. So I was almost puncturing. But well, it came, and then I went to the inters, and my inter pace isn't the best. I thought I was keeping up with Jericho, but he just pulled away. So that was a shame. I kind of wanted to win the race on track, but I guess a class win is still a win, so I'm not in a position to complain. So a few nonchalant hoo-has, hoo-ha. So it's been fun. Great to be back.
Hoo-ha, Frantic, thank you very much.
Hoo-ha.
Really well done today, congratulations, and I'm sure we'll see you take an overall victory at some point soon, I'm sure. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And we move on to Jericho Willis. Jericho Willis, congratulations, that is a brilliant drive in the wet condition. Actually, I say changing conditions. Pretty complicated race as well, with being a higher tier driver now, you have to start at the back. Can you take us through it?
Yeah, I mean, Samaxon and I were talking about this before the race, to just come in and relax and just enjoy it. We were on a call with each other throughout the race, so we were just able to talk and just enjoy the event. And I think, when the pressure's off, you can just relax and enjoy it a lot more. Big appreciation to Frantic. It was a lot of fun racing with him. He was very fair with me. I tried to be very fair with him, and I think we produced some good racing there, and it was enjoyable. There was no shenanigans to try to desperately keep each other behind, which I really want to see that go away in racing in general, just to race each other fair and see what happens. So it's really good to race against someone like him. Nice to have him back. It was also a lot of fun to race with Samaxon. He got unlucky, took a little bit of damage. I guess we touched. and I didn't feel it, but he touched the back of me and damaged his wing. Otherwise, I think he would have easily been in it there. So between just the losing the pace, then especially in the rain. So overall, it was a lot of fun. I definitely got lucky with the conditions and the decision to stay out. Staying out was the right decision, although it wasn't an easy one to make. And then the rain came at the right time. So just thankful that all worked out, and just appreciate racing with a good group of guys. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I have to say, perfectly read on the pit stops. Like, that couldn't have been any better for going onto a wet tyre. You get the call that it's going to be wet, like optimal wet conditions as soon as you enter the pit lane. That's perfect. Really well done. Well read, and staying out of trouble, although you're in the mix of the battles, is very impressive. So you should be proud of that one. Thank you very much, Jericho. Really well done. And I can't wait for Austria.
All right, thank you.
And we move on to Sir Maxon. Sir Maxon, a tough one. Damage, unfortunately, taking it there. But you did end up getting on the podium. Are you happy with that result, considering the race that you had?
Yes. Yeah, I'm happy with it. It's Saturday tier, so I'm just a reserve, but P2 is P2, and it was a lot more enjoyable than yesterday's just racing in the train. So that changed, and I really liked it. And I don't know, just coming quickly through start of the race, I managed to mostly stay out of trouble. Absolutely cooked Verve with overtaking him in turn 4 on the outside 2 times this race. So yeah, and then continued to just really drive, race, just try to not kill others. I almost did like 3 times, so that's an improvement. But I don't know, the safety car came, I was thinking if I should pit or not. I think still the correct decision was to pit. After the pit stop, I just didn't want to interfere that much, so I stayed back for a moment and I think was pushed a little off, so just let the position go. And the rain came, like, I think for the first time I have ever seen the conditions change that quickly, like on any F1 game, so it just surprised me. I expected at least one more lap of just being able to drive on those mediums, and yeah, it happened, lost 10 seconds, and I just am happy that I managed to gain 4.5 seconds on Jericho without help of my wing, so that's a good thing to know and maybe use it in the future races.
For sure. Definitely positives to take out of everything, and I think you should be happy with what you're able to achieve. Well done today. Thank you very much for racing. Thank you very much for the battles that you gave us on track as well. And hopefully it goes well for you in Austria next weekend.
Thank you.
And that's been it for the post-race interviews. Thank you very much for watching. It's been a pleasure. We'll see you next weekend for the Austrian Grand Prix. Have a good one. Bye-bye.